Disclaimer: this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before starting or changing any peptide, supplement, or medication protocol. Today we're diving into PT-141, also known as bremelanotide. This peptide has become widely discussed because of its unique effects on sexual health and libido. Unlike many other medications that act on the vascular system, PT-141 works directly through the central nervous system. That means instead of simply increasing blood flow, it interacts with the brain to stimulate arousal. This makes it especially interesting for people who have struggled with low libido or sexual dysfunction that isn't purely physical. PT-141 is a synthetic peptide derived from melanocortin 2. During early research on tanning peptides, participants reported unexpected side effects. Alongside tanning, they experienced spontaneous arousal and increased libido. Researchers isolated that effect, refined the peptide, and created PT-141. It was eventually approved in the United States under the name Vyleesi for the treatment of hypoactive sexual desire disorder in premenopausal women. What makes PT-141 stand out is the pathway it uses. Instead of relying on nitric oxide and blood vessel dilation like drugs such as Viagra or Cialis, it activates melanocortin receptors in the brain. These receptors play a role in sexual desire, arousal, and behavior. Because it's central rather than vascular, PT-141 has been shown to work even in people who don't respond to traditional erectile dysfunction drugs. The peptide is most often administered via subcutaneous injection, usually in the abdomen or thigh. Some compounding pharmacies also offer it as a nasal spray, although the injectable form is most common and more predictable in dosing. Onset of effects typically begins within 30 to 60 minutes after injection, and the effects can last up to 12 hours for many users. Some report residual libido benefits lasting into the following day. Dosing is important with PT-141. Too high a dose can cause nausea, flushing, or headache. That's why it's often recommended to start low and titrate up if necessary. A common range is around 1 milligram, though some people respond well to less. Individual tolerance varies. Because of the nausea side effect, many people will keep anti-nausea medication on hand until they know how they react. Over time, some people report that the nausea diminishes or becomes more manageable. The applications of PT-141 are broad. It has been studied in both men and women. In women, it is most associated with treating low libido, particularly hypoactive sexual desire disorder. In men, it has been used for erectile dysfunction, especially when vascular issues aren't the primary cause. It may also be supportive in cases where psychological or neurological factors are at play. Beyond that, research is still ongoing into other possible roles of PT-141, but its main reputation is firmly centered on sexual health. One fascinating aspect of PT-141 is the psychological component. Users often describe not just physical readiness, but an increase in actual desire. That distinction matters because many treatments address mechanics but don't necessarily influence the mental state of wanting intimacy. PT-141 appears to address both, which is part of why it has generated so much interest. As with any peptide, sourcing and quality are critical. PT-141 PT-141 should be obtained through legitimate channels, ideally a licensed provider or compounding pharmacy. Because peptides are sensitive compounds, improper handling, storage, or contamination can make a big difference in both safety and effectiveness. Refrigeration and careful reconstitution are essential if working with vials that require mixing with bacteriostatic water. From a safety standpoint, PT-141 has been shown to be generally well tolerated when used at recommended doses, though side effects like nausea, headache, flushing, and in some cases increased blood pressure have been reported. People with certain conditions such as uncontrolled hypertension or cardiovascular disease should exercise extra caution. Again, consultation with a healthcare provider is vital before starting. Another interesting point is that PT-141 has no significant impact on blood vessel dilation, which means it doesn't carry the same risks as drugs that act primarily on the vascular system. This makes it an option for people who cannot tolerate or don't respond to PDE5 inhibitors like sildenafil. For men with erectile dysfunction not caused by circulation problems, PT-141 has provided another avenue for support. When looking at the bigger picture, PT-141 reflects a new era in peptide therapy where treatments are being developed to address not only physical processes, but also neurological pathways. It underscores how peptides can influence the brain, not just the body. And as the field of peptide research expands, it's likely we'll see even more applications emerge. For those considering PT-141, it's worth remembering that it's not a daily use peptide. It's designed for as-needed use before sexual activity. Because the onset is relatively quick, many find they can plan ahead without needing to commit to regular dosing. This makes it convenient for people who prefer flexibility. In clinical studies, women using PT-141 reported not only improvements in libido but also reduced distress related to low sexual desire. That's a crucial outcome because the impact of sexual health reaches beyond intimacy. It can affect confidence, relationships, and overall well-being. Addressing that distress is just as important as the physical effects. For men, one of the most promising aspects of PT-141 is its ability to work when PDE5 inhibitors fail. Roughly 30% of men with erectile dysfunction don't respond well to those medications. For them, PT-141 offers an alternative pathway which can be life-changing. Over the years, user reports have described experiences ranging from subtle mood enhancement to very strong arousal responses. This variability highlights why individual dosing and careful experimentation under guidance are so important. One person may find half a milligram perfect, while another needs closer to 2 milligrams. Overshooting the dose can increase side effects without necessarily improving benefits. Some people also note that PT-141 can slightly suppress appetite, likely due to its melanocortin receptor activity. While this isn't its intended use, it's a side effect some users notice. Others report mild skin flushing, similar to what is experienced with niacin. Most of these effects are temporary and dose-dependent. Because PT-141 is still relatively new compared to older drugs, long-term data is limited. However, studies so far suggest it is safe when used responsibly and intermittently. As always, caution and professional oversight are key. The broader conversation about PT-141 PT-141 also touches on the role of sexual health in overall wellness. Libido and intimacy are deeply tied to quality of life. Addressing them through legitimate, scientifically validated means is an important step forward. PT-141 represents an option that goes beyond the mechanical, helping reconnect people with desire itself. If you're curious about peptides in general, PT-141 is an example of how targeted research into small proteins can yield very specialized results. From tanning peptides accidentally leading to libido treatments to focused clinical trials that bring a product to market, the journey shows how science can uncover unexpected but valuable tools. As the field continues to expand, we'll likely see more peptides designed for neurological pathways, not just muscle growth or repair. PT-141 is a prime case study in that direction. Disclaimer: this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before starting or changing any peptide, supplement, or medication protocol. Thanks for listening, keep learning, and stay curious.